How's it going? Jesse here in Long Nguyen, Vietnam, and I'm actually here visiting relatives. You guys probably don't know, but I am Vietnamese. From my accent, I am American, but my origin comes from Vietnam, and I do have a little bit French in me as well. But anyways, I was here for the first time 2 years ago, and I heard this story that I'm gonna share with you today. And it's quite inspirational. It relates to today's topic, which is how there seems to be an age limit when it comes to traveling, and it just seems that society assumes that the only right time for you to travel is once you retire, which is when you're 60 or 70 years old. But yeah, they kind of want you to make you go through the entire system. Once you graduate high school, you go to college, do that for 4 years or 5, and then you have to find a job, work for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, trying to climb that corporate ladder, and once you retire, then you can travel. So this story is just going to shatter this belief. It's quite inspirational about my grandpa, how he took off from Vietnam and moved to America, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, around 1980, my grandpa had a very hard decision to make. He was currently living in Vietnam, and he just sees that this isn't the ideal living situations for his family. He had 2 kids and 1 on the way, and one of the kids was actually my mom. He had 7 choices, which was UK, Germany, France, Sweden, Canada, and I believe the US. And you're gonna assume, based off my accent, he chose the US, that's right. And funny enough, this was the house where he was living in. This is where he actually lived, and he was living with his brother and his sister-in-law. And one night he asked his sister-in-law, "I'm thinking about going to America. I'm not sure if I should go or not." And she's telling him, "Oh, you're crazy. That's just insane. People get kidnapped. People die on these boats and all this type of stuff." And you can assume how he felt. He was really skeptical of leaving now. He didn't want to die and leave his family behind and all that. But he ended up taking off overnight with a friend. And the next morning, my grandma and his sister-in-law and his brother were just freaking out. My mom was freaking out that my grandpa's gone and they don't know if they can see him again and all this type of stuff. So going to my grandpa's situation, he took a boat over to Thailand. I believe his friend passed away on the boat. I'm not sure how he passed away, but anyways, when he got to Thailand, he ended up staying there for about 3 months. But it's not like a house or anything. He actually got arrested and thrown in prison for 3 months. And keep in mind that the entire time his family has no idea where he is, because back then there was no phones or no Skype or anything like that. So his entire family was freaking out, thought he was dead, you know what I'm saying? And then once he got out of the cell after 3 months, you would assume that he would go right back home. But he completely burned the boats, and he was so convinced that he was going to make it to America. And then he decides not to go back, and he goes off to the Philippines. And he ends up staying there for about 4 months or so, studying English and working. And still no word from his family. And then after those 4 months were over, he saved up enough money to buy a flight over to America. And then once he was in America, he ended up working for about a year or so. And then he wrote a letter finally to Vietnam, and he wrote to my grandma saying he's alive, he's been this and that, don't worry, he's making money and all this type of stuff. And then after a year, he flies back home to Vietnam, and I'm pretty sure there was a huge celebration. My grandpa's alive and all this stuff. So my grandpa came back for about 5 years in Vietnam, waiting for his papers to process. And once those were processed, he flew over to America, bringing my mom, her 2 siblings, and my grandma all over. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy that story of a pretty good example of there's no limit on age. And if you think about it from a rippling effect, if my grandpa listened to his sister-in-law and didn't travel overseas, not only would his life have significantly changed, his wife, which is my grandma, my mom, wouldn't have an amazing life growing up in America and all that. I wouldn't have been born either, because my mom wouldn't have met my dad and I wouldn't have been created. Even if my grandpa chose the UK or Germany or France or Canada, I wouldn't have been born. But just to really wrap it up, there's no limit, no age limit when it comes to traveling. And on that note, I'll see you next time.